wherever you're most comfortable, we can just go from there.
Yeah, yeah. So, and one of the things is when a wave comes, grounding becomes really important, right? It's not about avoiding those feelings. It's not about avoiding the the wave that is hitting you at that time, but it's just knowing you have the freedom to either respond to it or to connect to your body, right? As simple as placing your feet on the ground, pushing down on the ground to know where you're standing, or softening your shoulders, or naming what you feel. And you're allowed to feel the wave without drowning in it. And it's just giving yourself permission to just work with whatever is in front of you. And you don't need to have the right or the perfect answer. You most likely won't have it, but it's just being aware of this is what's happening. And it's okay. Like, you don't need to rush through it. If the capacity's there, you can feel what's going on. And if the capacity's not there, you can also go and distract yourself. Actually, distraction when it comes to grief can be really healing. You don't need to be thinking about the grief 24/7.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. Something that I used during that time was playing video games.
Mhm.
That was kind of a saving grace for me, and I was thinking about I was like, "Why am I, like, so invested in my video games right now?" Like, I can't figure out but it
Yeah.
was honestly such a relief for
Yeah.
me at times. It was such a safe space for me to not have to think about the pain that I was feeling,
Mhm.
every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your heart cannot stay in intensity all day. Right? Like, so rest is not avoidance, right? That distraction is not necessarily avoidance, but rest is how your heart survives grief.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching just comedy movies. I remember, like, even the weekend that when I had the miscarriage, I was like, I just need to watch comedy movies. And yeah, the comedy movie would end, and my husband and I would cry. We would look at each other, and it's just like, "Another one?" And I'm like, "Yep,
Yeah.
another one." I was
Yeah.
so I didn't shame myself for not wanting to feel. I was like, "I just need something different in this moment. I need to take a break from this deep pain that at that time, it wasn't just emotional or spiritual, it was actually physical." So I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't sit with this all day long. I need a break from it." And that's when I realized that yes, distraction is actually not a bad thing. It's actually what my body needs so that it can have that space to process what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
So lots of grace when it
Absolutely.
comes to grief. Lots of grace.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I wish I gave myself more grace, but I can't go back and change
Yeah.
anything, and I don't think that I would because it taught me so much.
Hmm.
Now I know and even hearing you is just reinforcing the fact that when I experience difficult things, it's really important to give myself grace
Hmm.
to just not want to deal in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where like simple practices matter, right? Just like those small steps, small wins. And that win could be just as simple as I woke up today. I
Yeah.
got out of bed. Your nervous system needs gentleness. Grief
Yes.
lives in the body, not just in the mind. So, again, things like walking, breathing, a gentle routine, drinking water, right? Things that we tend to say, well, I should be doing that either way. And I'm like, well, actually, when you're experiencing grief, it can actually be really hard to do those simple things. So, being able to look at those small wins is really important, and it's a way of your body feeling supported during emotional weight, right? Because grief
Yeah.
brings that weight. So Small practices, simple practices matter a lot.
Yeah, that's such a good point. It actually makes me think about when I was, really having a hard time, and cleaning was the hardest thing for me. Cleaning, just being able to really just move, you know? Um, Doing anything felt like such a task.
Yeah.
And it's hard because I think we're just not taught, as people, how to deal with those kind of things because, um, sometimes too, like, the people around you, they just don't understand and they become frustrated with the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes you end up getting into, like, some people, and I would even say for myself, like, I ended up gravitating towards, vices that weren't actually beneficial for me. And
Mhm.
we don't realize that sometimes we have to just give people grace when they're going through things and they're making choices that you wouldn't want them to make, that you wouldn't expect them to make. Yeah.
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 Yeah, no, and I was going to add, I think for people who are wanting to support someone who is grieving, it's not necessarily about saying the perfect thing or giving advice, right, as to what to do or how to navigate the situation, but we go back to presence. It's about being there, right? Like grief does not need solutions. It needs presence. Like for me, I can remember when again when we had just experienced the miscarriage, the way that our friends and our family showed up, it was just presence. A simple, we send flowers, right? There's a card or there's a text that says, "I'm thinking of you, I'm praying for you." Those are the moments that I actually cherish the most because I wasn't receiving advice or quick solutions, but it was just the presence. "Hey, I'm here. I'm thinking of you. I don't know what to say, but just know that I'm here." Those are the texts that I, like, hold on to. So I'm like, "Yeah, I actually don't need you to say something about this." Right? Because also, if you haven't experienced something in this situation, like a miscarriage, it's really hard to even understand what the other person is going through. So it's not so much about what can I say, and it's more about how can I be present.
Yeah.
Presence is so important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes when people are going through grief, like, just give them space to do what works best for them, especially if it's not something that's destructive to their health or to anyone else. But
Yeah.
it's really beneficial, especially in that case of medication and therapy and something like that, that's such a good aid,
Yeah.
to those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And even I know we can jump, let's say, whenever we see someone engaging in a destructive habit, behavior, we're quick to jump and have an opinion about that,
Mhm.
have advice. And something that I mentioned previously was safety, right? So when you are able to be present in someone else's pain with them, that creates safety, which in a way
Yeah.
helps the person know, wow, I can actually fall apart with this person and they're going to be there for me. So that's why I'm always like, hey, presence is more important because wanting to give your opinion without safety, like, it's not going to get through. It
Yeah.
actually might be, like you were saying, more of like this defensive of like, well, then I'm not going to say anything. Right?
Yeah.
If you can be there, just be present, be curious. I think that's one of the things. Instead of the judgment or your opinion, hey, what if we ask more questions? How does it
Yeah.
whenever you do this, right? Like, help me
Yeah.
understand so that you can also provide the type of support that they're needing, not the kind of
Yeah.
support that you think they need. And that's
Mhm.
where curiosity comes into place. Let me know more about this. And I
Yeah.
want to be there with you for you. But we can only do that if we ask questions, not from a judgmental place, but more from curiosity. Let's explore what is happening. Right? So being present goes before
Yeah.
advice. Yeah. And it can be hard. Like I said, I think grief is just uncomfortable
Yeah.
and we want to take people out of the pain, right? It's just like it's uncomfortable for me. So I don't want it to be uncomfortable for you. So I'll remove it. We don't have
Mhm.
the power to remove the pain. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like checking in. If we're supporting someone, it's sitting with that discomfort that you cannot take that pain away, but you can join this person in front of you in their pain and you can support in a way that brings safety, in a way that brings grace, gentleness, right? Kindness, which is what Jesus did. There are two things that I also like to just say, or like in a way that I like to help people navigate these situations. It's if you are the one providing support, I think a simple question to know what is expected of you could be, hey, do you want me to just be here and listen to you, or do you need advice? And
Mhm.
that way it's on the table. If the other person says I need advice, okay, then that's the permission, right, to share. What is it that you're seeing? What is it that I don't know, maybe like next steps, right? Like that's the place. But if it's just like, I just need you to listen and be present, then that's the expectation. It's not keep going and now jump into advice. Right? And now
Yeah.
you're the one receiving support. This is the part that I know it can be hard sometimes to kind of like vocalize what we need, but if you start to feel maybe on the inside, it just feels tense, right? Maybe the other person is giving you advice and you're shutting down. Maybe you're starting to notice I'm dissociating, I'm not here anymore, or there's that defensiveness. Then that's the point that your system is like, okay, what they're doing is not what you need. Nate. So also
Yeah.
having the freedom to vocalize that, right?
Yeah.
Just to say, hey, it can be as simple as I appreciate the feedback, I appreciate your advice. Is it okay if just for now you just listen to me? I just wanted
Mhm.
that you're here with me. Like there might be a point where I need your advice, but for now, I just want you here.
Mhm.
I know that can be hard. And I understand because it's also uncomfortable to vocalize our need.
Yeah.
However, that's part of I think that healing journey of like being able to advocate for ourselves and just vocalize. If that's not sitting well, it's because that's not what your system needs in that moment.
When people give me feedback like that, sometimes, like they say, "Oh, like you're" what's a good way of saying it? Oh, I've been told a lot in my life that I'm really sensitive. Um, and I mean, I am sensitive. I think we're all sensitive. I think that people just display it differently. And some people literally aren't sensitive because maybe they have particular inability to feel certain types of anxieties and stuff. But um I've been told my entire life that I'm really sensitive and emotional, which I am, but I'm a very loving, very affectionate, very nurturing kind of person. And it makes me think a little bit about what a psychiatrist told me before. I said, I just want to be indifferent. I want to not care about these things. I don't want to be sad anymore. And he said, well, you can be, but that means that you won't experience happiness.
Mm,
A life of indifference is a life that is empty of happiness. And yeah, I mean, that one definitely struck a chord with me, but it just going back to what you were saying, even like our body telling us, even in those moments of, hey, this actually makes me feel uncomfortable, that it
mhm.
isn't necessarily something to be upset about. It's not something to kind of demonize within yourself. So whenever I would feel that growing up, I would be told, you're being too sensitive, you're being too emotional, you're being too this, you're being too that. But it was almost like my body's way of indicating, hey, you're uncomfortable in this situation and it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about this. Yes,
Yeah,
this is what they're saying, this is what they believe, but this is yeah, this is you saying to yourself, "Hey, this is actually hurtful and I need to take time to navigate that."
yeah, yeah. And the hard part, I know this is a little bit more on like the trauma side,
Yeah.
but as a child, we don't like mentally, right? Our brains don't have the capacity to actually go through that process. It's very
Yeah.
black and white. So if no one else is saying, no, you know what? Kinda like what you were saying right now, like, it's not that you're sensitive. This is your body, your system communicating this need. If no one is saying that, then the narrative is, "I am too sensitive. I
Mm.
I shouldn't be feeling this way. Don't feel this."
Yeah.
So we grow up with that, right? And that's
Wow.
the narrative that starts to lead the way that we connect not only with others, but within ourselves. Right? And that's why, again, we experience grief and that's uncomfortable. And if the narrative has been you're too sensitive, then of course we're going to want to hide it. Right? We're going to
Yeah.
pretend that we're okay because inside there's this narrative you're too sensitive, you're too emotional. So then we start to minimize the impact that grief is having in our lives, and that goes
Mm.
against our humanity, right? Against that natural response to loss, against to the
Yeah.
response to something that is really painful. But grief can open
Wow.
wounds. Grief can actually like fuel that belief of you're too sensitive, you're too emotional, you're feeling too much, you're doing too much. Hide, hide. Right? So,
Wow.
and that's why I'm like, it's so important that I think even in the faith communities, we we go back to, well, what does Jesus have to say about grief?
Yeah.
Like I mean, it's in Isaiah, I'm pretty sure it's Isaiah 53, where it says that Jesus was a man acquainted with
With
grief.
grief. Yes.
Bro. Okay, so
Yes.
the part that we forgot about that. We've forgotten about that. That it's just like, no, this is a natural response. It's not that we're being too sensitive. It's not that we're too emotional. This is just a very fitting response to something that is really painful that is not in our control.
Yeah. Oh my
Such a different
goodness.
approach. Like I feel like it just gives not only freedom, but it's like this grace to just be human.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's so interesting how important, like, as you're just saying all of this, is like, man, grief is such an important part of being a human being. Like, it's far more important than we think it is.
yes.
Yeah, it's in a lot of ways, it's the solution to a lot of our problems, to take the time to grieve.
Yes. I love my pastor. He's very like pro mental health and I
Mm.
love that about him. And he actually preached this sermon about grief that it was so impactful. And I was like, man, I wish more pastors would actually preach this. But he gave this example that again, grief is not just death, right? It's life changes, like it's so much, right? And he was talking about how a lot of times we're holding on to the past, here,
Mhm.
look into the future and it's like, but I should be here. And it's this tug of war. But grief is actually what allows you to kind of like start to like, open this hand, kind of like the hurt, the past, and then like start to like move to this other side and like with both hands hold on to the hope, right? That's ahead. But grief is what allows that. And it's going to
Wow.
be uncomfortable. I think that's the part that
Yeah.
I want to go through, right? That discomfort. But if we don't grieve, then we're holding on to this and questioning, well, why did we have to go through this? I want to go back to this. And then what happens to like what's ahead? It's just like we can't see it because we're just holding on so tight to what was
Mhm.
lost. And
Yeah.
again, there's a place to grieve that. But if we don't even acknowledge how painful this is, then we can get stuck in that place, right? And it can become really heavy and dark, right? So
Wow.
grief is that process that it's just allows you to breathe. And yes, it will be uncomfortable. And yes, some emotions are going to come up that we don't like to experience. But that doesn't
Mm.
mean that it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
We're just
Oh my
responding
goodness.
in a very natural way to the pain that came from what was lost.
I remember God was speaking to me one day. Um, and like he didn't it wasn't like he said it in words or he said it with images. It was just, the knowing that you have when God is speaking to you. And I felt this thing within my heart, one, so that my children never experience the same. Um, he started to show me the impact of the grief that I've experienced in my life. And that because I've experienced so much pain from such a young age, it made me someone who loves so deeply. And so in my relationships, one relationship that I'm the most proud of, I mean, I'm proud of a lot of my relationships, but outside of my husband, the relationship that I'm the most proud of is my relationship with my siblings, especially my brother. Um, and I remember him saying that outside of our parents, of course, the first time he really experienced what it is to feel unconditional love was from me. And it was this moment of realization, and even having people come to me and say to me that, because of what I've been through and I share, that I was suicidal, stuff like that, and that I've experienced trauma, people would approach me and say, like, "You have no idea how much what you're saying impacts me because you're giving a voice to what I experienced, and you're giving me hope."
Yeah.
And I felt like God was saying to me, like, after he showed me all of these different things and how much, um, my pain has been a blessing to others,
Mm.
he showed me that grief is a part of my message in this life. And I never understood what that meant until this actual interview.
Oh,
Yeah, it I feel this beauty of, um in the same way that we think of poetry, like grief is something that's incredibly poetic.
yeah.
Yes, it is painful, but it is so incredibly beautiful and it's so powerful
Yeah.
that we can use this to be an answer to a lot of our pains, a lot of our sorrows. When we make the decision to grieve, we find a sense of freedom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Man, I'm like literally just feeling all of that. And I'm like, oh, so good. It's no, I'm trying to remember the name of the book and I can't remember right now, but there was this really powerful statement. So the person who wrote this book, she's also a believer, but she lost her husband. And she's a a guest speaker, like she's written books, and after she lost her husband, she was going to preach at a church, and the pastor at that church told her, after she preached, yeah, he was like, you've always been impactful. Like your messages have always been impactful, but now you're relatable. And it was
Wow.
that moment, I remember reading that because it was a chapter of grief in her book, and I'm, like, bawling. And it was one of those moments that I was like, "Okay, God." Like, I didn't like, I knew grief, it's one of those things, and I feel like even in school, they teach you, but it's not really, like, how do you apply it? But it was through my own journey that all the pieces started to come together, and I understood that deep pain, that invisible emotional pain that no book can prepare you for, right?
Yeah.
I remember asking God, like, "Okay, God, who else, right, do you want me to help?" And specifically, right, when it comes to grief behind miscarriage and fertility, right? And that has been a question that I think it was beginning of the summers when I finished reading that book that I was like, okay, God, even if there's like just one more person, right, before we get pregnant again, is there anyone else that I can support? Is there anyone else that I can be there for? Even though, yes, there's still the longing to be a mom, right? Even though I do still carry the grief and those memories, it's like, God, what else can I do in this moment? Because I know that what I went through, it's not just for me to keep. Like, who else needs to hear this? Because in a way, like, that also gives me hope, right? And hope doesn't erase sorrow, right?
Yeah.
Hope kind of like sits besides it. Right? So that's one of the things that I've been like, okay, God, who else? Right? Let's keep doing this because as long as I'm with you, like I know that it's going to be okay. That doesn't mean that there won't be pain, right? Healing is not the absence of pain, right? But healing is being able to feel the pain without losing yourself in it.
Oh, that's good.
So that's something that I've held on to it. And I'm like, okay, God, now that I've been through this, what can we do with it? I don't
Yeah.
keep it to myself. Like I actually like I have a I don't know if you can see it. I have a tattoo here with the name of my baby because people ask
Oh.
about this, and I'm like, I actually want you to ask. I want to talk about my baby. I want
Mhm.
you about him and the doors that this baby has opened up for me. I'm just like I'm blown away because I'm like, I know this is God. We went from you can't get pregnant, literally, a doctor told me it's impossible for you
Wow.
to get pregnant to, oh, I was actually pregnant. I just didn't know when the doctor told me this.
Wow.
So it's like, the hope and then the grief. But I'm like, okay, God, you heal my body because the doctor said I couldn't get pregnant and I
Mhm.
did. But now that I'm going through this and still hoping that that becomes true, right? Being a mom on this side of earth, it's still, "Okay, God, what can I do?" Because as long as I'm here, like, I'm not gonna shy away from, yes, sharing the painful experience, but also sharing all the goodness that has come from it and
Mm.
the hope that He has spoken into my life in the midst of pain. Like, it's not
Yeah.
It is no, it is painful, but yes, there is hope. There's I think it's Psalm 126. And there's a song, it's called Shouts of Joy by Harvest. And there's a part of the song that says, I put my tears in the soil, now I'm reaping shouts of joy. Sorrow turns into a harvest, mourning turns into a song. And I think that's the part that I'm like, yeah, you know what? This right here, like, this doesn't end in death. Right? There's actually like my mourning turns into a song. And maybe that's
Mhm.
it's I'm weeping and I'm singing. Right? I'm hurting and I'm hoping. It's we can hold both. It's not one or the other. Right? But this
Yeah.
grief journey. has taught me. It's what God has taught me in the midst of it. And it's like, and it's okay. We can experience more than one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It makes me think of the because I've always wondered what was the answer to this passage, and, maybe I'm wrong, but in this moment, it definitely applies for me. The verse that says, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick," and I've always wondered, well, if hope deferred makes the heart sick, what doesn't make the heart sick?
Mm,
And it's like in that line, hope deferred makes the heart sick. So hope in the present, is the most important thing.
yeah.
How do you get that? Like how do you connect to that, and hearing what you're saying really speaks to that for me. 'Cause
Mhm.
I mean, that's one of those things that keeps me up at night. I'm like, "Hope deferred makes the heart sick." How do I have hope? Like, how do I navigate this? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I actually sometimes I ask Jesus and I'm like, is there a straightforward answer for this? Can you just tell me like what to do? And oftentimes, yeah, it doesn't happen that way. But it is in those moments like I always have a choice. There's always this option of like, okay, I can actually just stay with the pain, stay with the sorrow, and Jesus will welcome that. And at the same time, there is this space of, okay, but if I hold on to this, what am I actually saying no to? Right? Because either way, I'm
Mm.
saying yes or no to something. Right? And we go back to that example of like, in grief allows me to just look at this and say, yes, this is painful. And this is hope.
Mhm.
Right? And both can be true. But if I'm only focused
Yeah.
on, well, it's just really painful. Why did this have to happen? Then I think that's where then the heart starts to yeah, it starts to, like, close off. Like, I kinda have that
Mhm.
image of, like, the heart becoming hard,
Yeah.
really hard to see hope in the future when
Yeah.
all we look at is the pain.
Yeah. Honestly, hope deferred does feel like the heart is hardening. It
Mm,
feels like you're shutting down. It feels like you're closing. And
yeah,
so that illustration of makes the heart sick, like, it just makes so much sense, you know?
yeah, and there's so much grace. I think that's why I always say, like, "Hey, there's" it's a natural response to want to
Yes,
protect.
of course.
Right, to want to protect. I don't, because what happens if I start to hope again and something else happens, right? So there's that
Yeah.
too that I'm like, "That's very real." But that's where I think as believers, being able to see, well, where is that hope coming from? Because if it's just focused on what I can do, man, yeah, it's actually gonna be really hard. There's a lot of limitations. I can't in a way, like I mean, getting pregnant is such a miracle. I feel like now I have such a
Mhm.
perspective that I'm like,
Yeah.
I can be doing all the right things, and yet it is life is such a miracle that if I look at what I can do, then yeah, hope probably feels further away,
Oh my
and
goodness, yes.
it's gonna be hard. So where are you placing that hope? What are you looking at? I think that is the difference as well. And there is a lot of grace because there's going to be days that I feel I've experienced. There's days that I'm like all in and I'm like, okay, God, yes, you got this. We're good. Like, there's so much good that you've done. You're so faithful. There's so much hope for the future. And there are other days that I'm like, I, I don't even know. Right? I still
Mhm.
believe in you and I still trust you. But honestly, there's a part of me that has a really hard time hoping for what's next.
Yes, of course. Of
And I
course.
think it's in those places that as humans, being raw and honest with God, is so important. He welcomes that. He actually wants
Mhm.
honesty. He already knows what we're feeling. So I'm like, so why not tell him?
Yeah.
Right. So
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. My mind is so blown. I feel like a sense of peace and a sense of resolve. It,
Mm,
it's so interesting to see your prayers coming to pass, like you talking about like you praying about, doing a podcast, different stuff like that about grief and then me spending, I mean, I was up all night that night just praying like God lead me to the right person to have
mm,
this conversation. Even before that, him laying it on my heart because recently I had a cousin of mine pass away and I just I didn't know how to comprehend it. And I felt even more of like I need to do a podcast on grief because I definitely want to find a way to figure this out for me, for my family, for the people around me. Um and that being a catalyst to doing this episode and yeah, it's just and it being something that speaks so deeply to the heart of the questions that I've been having for such a
mm,
long time since I was a little girl,
mm.
praying every single night for everyone on the earth. I would be like, and I pray for the plants and I pray for the animals, the horse, and I would just
Right.
name all the animals that I knew, um, all the people I knew till I would fall asleep exhausted, you know? Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I love having these type of conversations and yeah, just being able to share a little of my story. So yeah, thank
Mhm.
you for having me and just creating the space. I think it's so important, and especially in just faith communities, like, ah, we need to have more of these conversations.
Yeah.
It's so needed.
Yeah. Grief is such an important part of our faith. Such
Yeah,
an important part of our faith.
absolutely. And something, I feel like right now that comes to mind as we're talking about just complexity of grief is I think even sometimes like a timeline. I'm like, there isn't really
Mm-mm.
a timeline. However, sometimes the way that I see it is there could be like an anticipatory grief, right? That we know
Mhm.
something is coming and we start to feel all those complex emotions. It hasn't happened yet, but we know it's coming. That's very normal to feel that way. Or if it's early grief, right? It just happened, right? And it's recent. It's like acute grief. It just happened. Right? Early grief, a lot of times, is actually considered the first 2 years, like after.
Wow.
So when I have people be like, "Well, it's been 6 months, it's been a year," and I'm like, "Okay, I mean, that's still early."
Mhm.
Right? And then there's mature grief, which is for the rest of your life. So that
Yes.
idea of I'm just gonna get over it, I'm like,
You never really get over it. You
yeah.
just I don't know when when you're saying that and even before the thought came to my mind, when I lost the grandmother that told me that I had that I cared for people very
Mhm.
deeply, that I had a good heart. She passed away when I was about 10 or 11, and when she passed away, it was obviously, like, one of the most devastating things in my life. But see, it's even making me emotional in this moment, and I'm gonna be 34, and so it's been basically 24 years,
Mm,
since her passing, but the grief I feel today is different from the grief I felt as a kid.
yeah,
The grief I feel today is that it's a mature grief, but it's like, "Man, I love you so much," you
yeah,
know? I
yes,
love you with all of my heart, and it's not necessarily that I miss you. It's like I wish you were here, but it's this feeling I don't know how to describe it. I wish you were here, but I'm not in a place where my entire world is crumbling that you're not here.
yeah,
I'm gonna take the memories that I have. I'm gonna take the things that you've taught me, and I'm gonna cherish each of those things. I think cherish is the right word to describe. With mature grief, you
Yeah.
begin to cherish the person that you've lost,
Yeah.
the dream that you've lost, and what that did for you and what that made you into.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just I think even to give you a different image is let's say grief is this like small circle and when it just happened there's another circle on the outside which is your life. That's all you can see, right? And that's
Yeah,
why it feels like so heavy and the emotions are really intense. But with time, the circle that actually changes is the circle that's on the outside that starts to
yeah,
grow, which is new life experiences, right? New memories, right? That starts to grow. Grief is still there. That's
yeah,
why it is mature grief because what changes is the circle on the outside and there's more capacity because more life experiences start to happen but at times, that's why this will get triggered. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, right? This gets triggered. And it's okay because there's love there.
yeah,
Right? So even as you're sharing about your grandma, I'm like, there's so much love there. So even that response, it's very fitting. We go back to we grieve because we love.
yeah.
Right. So it's such a beautiful response and
Oh,
one that we all go through, but we have a choice. How do we respond when
yeah,
it comes up? That makes the difference.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. This has been so transformative for me. Transforming, I don't know what the right word is right now. It has been so impactful. Like I said, it feels like a lot of the questions I've had my entire life is kind of being answered right now.
Mm,
It's a testament to what God has done in your life. It's a testament to your faithfulness. It's definitely a fruit of the spirit that you're carrying, the faithfulness. Um, it it shows that even yeah, the importance of holding on to Christ,
yeah.
choosing him even when we don't have the strength to
Hmm.
hold on, just letting him hold on to us. And the testimony that comes from that, the lives that our obedience impact, if we allow him to, he can use our transformation to bless others. So I just want to say thank you. I mean, with the interruptions for this episode, but I mean, I know we were gonna talk about trauma and trust, but we're gonna have to do a completely next session another day because this one has taken over the day for us. Um, but thank you for saying yes to God, for being obedient, and thank you for saying yes to doing this episode with me.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been such a gift, really.
Same,
Like I said,
same.
just an answer prayer. Yeah, thank you for reaching out. I really, like I said, I love having these type of conversations. So yeah, would love to talk more about,
Yeah,
trauma trust, but
yeah.
seems like this is what was needed today. I think that was one of my
Of
prayers.
course.
Even as I was like, preparing, praying for today, I was like, God, whatever you want to do with this, right? Wherever you want to take us, um, just we're open to it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad. I'm glad we ended up talking about the things that we talked about. And yeah, I said just even thank you for being vulnerable. That allows me to be vulnerable as well.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm usually not this vulnerable. I mean, I have my walls up and it's just
Mhm.
a part of how I kind of live my life. Um, again, I think that's where the OCPD comes in, needing to control. Um, but it definitely felt like such a divine experience, and I'm so grateful for God to introducing me to you, your work, and yeah, I feel blessed by you. I'm so grateful for this. Thank you so much for doing this episode with me.
Ah, of course. Of course. It was great. Great talking to you.
Yeah, same, same.